Welcome to Artcasters Chat 3. We got a full house and maybe one with technical difficulties at the moment, but we'll just jump right in. I'm going to introduce everybody and we'll give a brief description of who you are and what you do. Starting from my left, it's different for everybody. It's going to be different on the video, but on my left is Jeff.
Hey, I'm Jeff Lafferty. What am I? JeffLafferty.net. I do videos on YouTube, do movie art. That's it.
And you started Artcasters group on Facebook?
Yeah. Started the Artcasters group, and it's just out of control now. I can't get it shut off.
Then we have John.
Hey, I'm John Grzeski, also known as Zombirai on the internet. I do Everyday Abnormal, urban fantasy webcomic. I don't know what this Artcasters thing is here. I heard somebody was streaming the new Captain America movie, and I'm a little disappointed that nobody's doing that, so I guess I'll stick around.
You have to show up my home.
As long as I'm here. See, nobody mentioned that. That ain't right.
Yeah. John, pronounce your last name very slowly because I know there were a lot of people that didn't catch your name, knew your first name, didn't know your last name, didn't know exactly who you are. So repeat it. Did we lose you?
Oh, sorry, I thought you're... No, sorry. My last name is Grzeski. That's Grasseschi.
Right.
But it's easier if you just search for Zombirai, Zomburai. That will show up everything on the internet with me, and it's way easier to spell and pronounce, for that matter.
Okay, so nobody should be... everybody should be in the know at this point. Then we have Christian. What?
Hello?
Did you want to say something?
Which one? Wait, is it me or is there another one?
Wait, John, did you want to say something else?
I'm good. No, I'm good.
Okay, going on to Kristen.
All right. I'm an amateur comic creator, and I'm still trying to get off the ground, though you can find me at I Swallowed a Fly at blogspot.com, or you can follow me on YouTube, and it's just Kristen Middleton. You can probably search Kristen Middleton 100-Day Challenge, and it'll probably come up. But I have two projects going on right now. It's the I Swallowed a Fly zine, which I'm trying to create, and I'm trying to find someone to interview, too. So if anybody out there wants to be interviewed, if you have a story to tell, then go for that. And then beyond that, I'm also working on Prisoner Cinema, and I'm writing the script out for that, even though I do have the prologue paged out. But that's pretty much all I'm doing right now. So thank you for having me, and I hope this goes well.
Well, welcome. Do we have Marshall?
Do you hear me?
Yeah,
I hear you.
You do hear me?
Yes.
Oh, well, that's
don't
good.
see
Yeah,
you.
so I guess I'm here. I don't know. I got to get the video going, but yeah, I'm here.
So introduce yourself and say a little bit about what you're doing. Introduction right now.
Cool. My name is Marshall Couture, also known as Plex in hip-hop circles, and I run a podcast called Escape Artist Podcast, and my website is donkeyjawprojects.com, and I make comics and hip-hop.
Cool.
Thanks for having me on.
Oh, my pleasure, man. It's great to have you here. And we have Robert.
Yes, Robert Jimenez. I'm a broadcast animator and designer by day, and just do painting, sculpture, illustration by night, or whatever other time I have after work and the kids and everything. And that's it. My websites are zerostreet.com and tikitower.com.
And I'm Peter Palmiotti, your humble host. And I make comics, podcasts, videos, and sketch cards and whatnot. And you can find me everywhere.
He's the $6 million man of art. Does it all.
So, I don't know if there's anything specific you wanted to get into today, Jeff?
No. But I'll start it off, though. Because I did catch one thing that you said there, Robert. You said you're a broadcast animator. What's that mean?
I work for Univision, the Spanish language network, and I basically do on-air graphics, animation, props, just about anything that comes out of the art department that you would see on air.
Okay, so like the stuff in front of the news, like stuff moving around and stuff, that kind of thing?
An OTS, which is an over-the-shoulder, like where a news anchor is talking and a graphic may come up, or the open to a show, or the open to a segment within a show. Like I work on the morning show, which is why I get up so early.
Oh, I see.
It's like a Today style show, so they may have a fashion segment, and then that might require a graphic opening of about 5 to 8 seconds or something like that, which often uses illustration, but for the most part it's straight design work, 3D graphics and graphic design.
Yeah. Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
How long you been doing that for?
I've been with them about 17 years. And actually, that's a career that I tell a lot of artists don't think of TV, but every TV network or local station has an art department. In some cases, the graphics may be farmed out. Like I know NBC, our local NBC, closed up their news department, and the news graphics come out of a hub, like in Texas or something like that. But for the most part, you'll find a nice graphic or art department in a TV station. There is the requirement of knowing After Effects, probably a 3D program. Cinema 4D is the one we use more often. Photoshop Illustrator, of course. So, those are probably the basic requirements. And I learned most of that on the job, to be honest, throughout the years.
Yeah. That's cool.
Yeah, it's a good job. It's stressful, but it's a good job. Definitely.
Yeah, I'll bet. It's probably like I used to work for a newspaper, and it's like one of those things where tomorrow doesn't matter. It's like it's got to be done today, or it doesn't.
It's especially the fact that this is a 4-hour live show.
Yeah.
So that just I come in the morning and my inbox is full of requests, and you don't stop till the show's over, really. And then it still continues because then there's the pre-production for the next day.
Yeah. How early do you got to get up?
I'm up at 4:30 Monday through Friday.
That's pretty good.
So yeah, I can't make those Artcasts at 9 or so. And I'm there probably by 5:30, and the show starts at 7. So there's a lot of stuff to do before that.
Yeah.
I'm sure it gets crazy. Like you have to do a lot of stuff last minute, right?
Oh yeah. I mean, there is definitely stuff that's requested ahead of time, but a lot of it is celebrity gossip and photos and what they tweeted the night before. So a lot of it is very last minute stuff. But at the same time, I get to use my illustration skills. There are a lot of opens. It's like a Today Show with humor and dancing. So there is a lot of instances where I'm using my illustration, doing a quick little cartoony open, stuff that I don't tend to work on my own time. So it's a nice change.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
That's cool. Everybody jumped in, but the other thing that kind of was Kristen, actually. I guess because I don't know you two much. I've met Peter and Marshall and John already, but Kristen, you were talking about, what was that other project that you said?
Prisoner Cinema?
Right, Prisoner Cinema. I was wondering about that.
That one is, I could probably go on about it, but I'll probably, if you want, after, I can send you on Facebook a link to the plot kind of story, I guess, synopsis. But that one's going to be a kind of full-length graphic novel, and hopefully the first one that I finish. And it's kind of slightly surreal, and it's kind of based on a time in history, but it's not really based, like, on Earth. It's more, I guess, like, a made-up kind of setting. But, yeah, it's kind of, if you want the really, really bare, that doesn't make it sound too interesting, but I guess it's this guy who's unintentionally branded as a war criminal.
Yeah.
And what happens is it turns out that he has this terminal illness from this drug that he took to suppress the, like, people's memories. But what happens is that instead of executing him or making him go to prison, they basically just let him rot from his illness. And while he's doing that, the term prisoner cinema, which means when you hallucinate through sensory deprivation, because before he was captured, this gang splashed acid on his face and he went blind. And so he starts to hallucinate, and gradually he builds this whole world within his head based off of his memories. And he's going through his head not only to try to find this one memory that he's lost due to this blackout that he took when he was on this drug, but he's also trying to come to some type of solace with, like, everything that's happened in his life. And you see gradually his kind of life story pan out, like, through his head and through flashbacks. So that's where I'm at.
So this is a comic, right, that you're doing?
Yeah,
okay.
It's a comic.
Yeah. Are you going to be doing it, like, webcomic, graphic novel?
I may or may not print it when it's done, but I'm probably going to do it as a webcomic. And what I plan to do, again, I kind of backtracked and I went back to writing the script, because what happened originally was I kind of jumped right into it because I really wanted to get the ball rolling. But the thing is, I realized that I didn't develop certain things enough, and this is a story that I've been, like, kind of thinking of for a while, and I've seemed to get good feedback on it, so I really want it to be good, or at least the best that I can get. So what I'm doing now is I'm focusing also on the zine, for the zine to get practice, which is collection of these kind of one-page surreal kind of comics just to get practice. And then while I'm getting practice through that, I can write the script, take more time to edit and revise things, and then make Prisoner Cinema the best thing that it can be.
Right. That makes sense. Have you guys... I got a question for all three of you, four of you comic book guys, actually, because I keep seeing all this stuff about, like, Amazon and Comixology. I know we brought this up in the last show, but, you know, like, you guys are all doing, like, web comics and stuff, but have you guys... You know, and not so much Comixology. I mean, Amazon's the one I keep hearing stuff happening at. I hear about all these indie authors getting on Amazon and making all this money. It's like, have any of you guys thought about, you know, instead of doing a webcomic, do comics on Amazon or something? How come nobody's talking about this? That's what I don't get, you know. You hear, like, so much from all these self-published authors, you know, 50 Shades of Grey and that other chick who, you know, blew up, Hugh Howey. But nobody's talking about comics on Amazon, and, you know, Comixology just bought them. Or, I mean,
I actually know some people that have, or at least tried to do it on Amazon, but I know that typically with artists, money is kind of usually, if you're kind of an indie creator, like, money is kind of hard to come by if that's what you're relying on your income. And I heard that Amazon, again, I might, like, take my words with a grain of salt, because I've never really approached Amazon myself. I'm far too rough, shall we say, for that. But Amazon, I heard they offered, like, a fee, or a lot of the profits kind of go to Amazon in the beginning. So probably it's like, if you want to get your first comic out there, maybe when it becomes more popular, you can do that. But if you're just starting to do that, because I know, like, with books you can go right to the Kindle, but you can't really do that for comics. So it's probably, if you want something in print, probably be a little more difficult.
Yeah, I'm not talking print. I'm totally talking about e-comics, or whatever you want to call them, digital comics, you know, with Comixology. And you actually can go straight on to the Kindle now. They have, you know, like, whatever Comixology, you know, whatever their comics creator thing is with the guided view and all that, is now on Amazon, because I've put up a couple ebooks, not comics, but just kind of like art type books here recently, and it's just a matter of uploading it and putting it for sale. It doesn't cost anything.
Oh, it doesn't?
Yeah. So.
I've got an art book as well that I have on CreateSpace. I had it for a couple of years now, and I just recently converted it over to Kindle. And actually, if I'm not mistaken, there's no fee now for CreateSpace. When I first published that book, I think it was a $60 fee.
Really?
And after
Yeah, I think
that,
it's actually free now.
yeah, I believe it's free, and you just upload your PDF, and you approve your proof, and it's you don't need it's print on demand, so someone orders it, or you can order a bunch and just get some and then sell them at a con or whatever. And then there was no fee whatsoever to send it over to the Kindle. I used their Comic Creator, but
Oh,
I
so you
didn't
use
do any
that thing too
dynamic.
to... I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, but you use that Comics Creator also to like switch your art book
I
over?
did, and mine is just a straightforward art book. There's a little bit of text. There's a sketch section, a digital art section, and then my traditional art. So there's no need for the dynamic resizing or anything like that. I mean, it does. You can zoom in, I believe, but not. I guess what you're talking about with the comics, where you can make it. It's more of an interactive read, I guess.
Yeah,
I
you
didn't
go like...
bother with any of that. I just did a straightforward transfer of it. It was pretty painless and had it up in no time.
Yeah. Have you seen any sales on it?
Yeah, my book it actually sells more overseas than here. Not a huge amount, but I would say a copy or two a month probably, and then I do sell them I don't do many shows. I only do local shows, and I do sell them there. And then I always order like in bunches of 10 or so, and then once I get down low, I reorder. I sell those on my store,
Yeah.
I should say. Yeah, and
Yeah,
I also, with a print or a sketch or something like that.
yeah, that's like the thing I uploaded. I just kind of did it as like a test, and I noticed a couple sales, since I've uploaded, and that was only a couple months ago. And
Yeah.
I haven't talked about it at all on my videos or just anywhere on my website because I just kind of wanted to see, is there any kind of like organic traffic going to come from Amazon to find this thing? And there's a few people that went in and bought the ebook version anyway. So I don't know. What about like you, Marshall? Have you messed around with putting anything on Amazon?
Well, I don't have I don't think I really have a product yet for it. Is the thing.
Do some comics, man.
Well, I'm doing my comics, but they're not. They're like
Yeah.
Kristen was saying. I kind of treat them almost as like a rough draft at this point. I'm doing mini comics, and I'm kind of building up to that. But yes, definitely. I mean, Amazon is the place where people buy stuff online. You gotta get stuff in there if you can. Once I have a product, it's going up there and everywhere else.
Yeah.
What
Yeah,
about
I was
you?
talking a little
Okay,
bit
Peter.
in the Studio Synergy about, right now I'm focused on working on the comics, but once I have product, there's many avenues to put it out to, and it's almost like, why not just put them out to all of them?
Mm-hmm.
Because otherwise you're not reaching all the audiences out there. And I'll definitely look into that, and I'm sort of thinking of maybe getting enough pages of my different projects and putting it in one book as a preview or something,
Yeah,
and putting it out there.
that'd be neat.
There's also Kablam, I think.
Yeah.
I was in an anthology with Chris Hammer, goes by Urban Pop. He puts out a thing called Illustrated. I was in the second issue, and
What was the book called?
no, it's the book is illustrated.
Illustrated? Okay.
Yeah, he just I don't know if he's gonna do I think he's on the third issue or so. He just curates a couple of artists and has them do like a 6-page story. I always wanted to be a comic book artist, but as I got older, I guess I realized I don't like doing sequential art. I find it really boring. So I did this 6-page story, and it's something that I kind of want to do more of. It's just I've never written before. I can send it out to you guys if you ask me. There was I don't know where the fault lies, but there was a page missing when they
really?
uploaded my story. So it makes absolutely no sense if you buy Illustrated 2. I'll gladly send it to you guys if you want to see it. But it's I I plan on reprinting it with another story I'm working on. It's primarily text. It's really like a short story. There are moments where there is sequential art, and there's moments where there's just a splash page, and I'm moving more towards just writing something that would have an occasional illustration or possibly a few panels, but be primarily text. Because I really just sequential art just doesn't hold my interest. It's very. I mean, I just like painting really. So it's like it's very difficult for me to sit down and do 20 some odd pages of a book. I just can't.
I feel your pain.
It's tough. I just saw that Sid, I don't know how to pronounce your last name, during the call.
La Jeunesse.
La Jeunesse? Okay.
Hey.
Yes.
Oh, it's nice to meet you, man.
Hello, sir.
Hey, Sid.
Hey.
Hey, I'm glad I was able to catch up with you guys.
Cool.
Yeah. Why don't you introduce yourself and give your website since you got in here late? Sid?
I'm sorry, my daughter was talking to me.
Oh, I said, why don't you I said, why don't you introduce yourself and give your website since you got in here late?
Okay, well, I'm Sid La Jeunesse. I live in Albuquerque, New Mexico, and I don't have a web page set up just yet, but I am on Facebook under my name, Sid La Jeunesse. You can catch me on YouTube as well under Sid Airbrush, and that's about it.
All right, cool.
I've seen your videos before, actually.
Yeah, he's doing some good videos,
The
definitely.
airbrush stuff, yeah, because I was looking through that stuff because I have an airbrush and I've used it for paint application on toys and stuff, but I only used it once recently for an actual painting.
Yeah, I love the airbrush here. It's a really, really versatile tool. You can, I use it for everything from painting T-shirts and license plates to working on canvas.
Yeah, nice. And do you use like acrylic stuff or all kinds of paints?
Well, I mainly use acrylics through the airbrush for that kind of work, but like painting on cars and motorcycle tanks and leather jackets and helmets, I switch off to the solvent-based paints like House of Colors or PPG stuff like that.
Have you ever heard of Monster Color?
Monster? No, I have not.
It's pretty good.
I've used it.
Oh, really? There's it's a small company in Massachusetts, but they specialize in airbrush paints for like designer toys and things like that, and custom toys. And really amazing paint. Really toxic. I kind of had to stop using it because I don't have a good like air filtration system. So
They make spray paint too, right?
they make spray paint and paint markers as well.
Yeah, I've used their spray paint.
Yep, that's cool.
Marshall, I kind of forgot. I was going to bring that up sometime when I was talking to you. I noticed that you did like some toy designs or something for that. Help me out. It's like, what is it? It's like the little toys. They're small, and there was kind of like a
there's
or something.
Yeah, there's there's a YouTube channel called Toy Break, toybreak.com, and also they run their own like toy company called October Toys. But it's basically this couple out in California, George and Aileen Gaspar, and I mean, really entertaining videos, and they do the same type of thing where they do like hour-long videos and they do like toy reviews and stuff. But they also make little mini toys like the old muscle toys, and those are really fun to play with. And there's all kinds of different people doing the same thing, trying to do like old muscle style toys, and that's kind of the stuff that I was doing a lot of customization on. And I also made some of my own with like pouring resin and stuff like that, and sculpting my own stuff.
Did you do that? That's interesting. And I don't know if that's quite what I was talking about, but I worked with a guy. His name's John Riggle. He's like a sculptor, and he did. He got in, and I honestly I think it's like something that you were in, because it's like some of the designs I saw on your site or somewhere around you was some of the stuff that he was showing me, and it was with these guys who ran a Kickstarter, and they got a bunch of money, and
It might have been the Kaiju Chaos, I think it's called.
that doesn't sound familiar though. They were like little monsters.
Yeah, I
And the
think.
one he did was like a little pumpkin-headed dude.
Yeah, the Pumpkinhead guy. He's a popular guy. And that's one of the toys that the October Toys people did.
Oh, okay. So that's it, huh? Yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
It was pretty cool, and he did another one that we did a little like an Indiegogo. I wasn't like connected with it, but I did the package art on it for like this game, like the Uncharted game. I think is that the cowboy one, Uncharted? I'm not that familiar with games.
Wait, you mean like what system?
Oh, I don't know. Whatever's current.
Is it
Probably
like a popular game?
It's a real popular one.
I've heard of it. I think it's a cowboy game.
Marston is his name or something like
Oh,
that?
you mean Red Dead Redemption?
Yeah, that's the one.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And he did these little mini figures, and I don't know. His Indiegogo didn't get that much, but it's like it kind of turned me on to like this whole world of like these little collectible figures everybody's doing, and he was doing the same thing. He was like mass producing these things with like silicone molds and pouring resin and stuff. And it was really cool.
Yeah, I was trying to get into that for a bit. I do have a few sculptures. I've got a tiki mug. I have a second one coming out next, by the end of the year, I think. But that's something that really interests me as well. Sculpture is pretty hard, and it's pretty challenging. And then just the whole thing of undercuts of how your mold is going to open up, and how many parts your mold is determines how detailed the character is. But that's a very interesting art form to me, and I think it's a pretty hot one in terms of, I mean, a lot of people are interested in little figures, especially horror stuff. I think.
Yeah.
That's something. I've got a Frankenstein monster head. I'll look for it in a second and show it here. That
Okay.
I casted in I did a silicone mold, and I used this thing called dry stone, which is kind of like a plaster. And painting those things is so much fun.
Yeah.
That's probably the best part of it.
Yeah. Yeah, I was the last con I was at. There was a girl there that had like little mini figures. They weren't even that cool, really, but man, it was like the crowd around her table. I just couldn't even believe it. I think that that stuff would be kind of a gold mine if you could get into it right.
Yeah, what a lot of people are doing as well is little robots made from just found objects and stuff around your house, like a can. And you see a lot of that, and people really love that, and they are cool. For the most part, they're really nice pieces.
Yeah.
Yeah, those are amazing.
Were you painting those little toys with like an airbrush and stuff, Marshall?
Yeah. Yep.
Really?
Yeah. It seems like it's like super detailed, but when it got really detailed, I did use a brush. But
Yeah.
for the most part, like you could get some really cool effects with the overspray and blending colors with the airbrush.
Yeah, totally.
It's definitely a cool industry or whatever. A lot of the activity takes place in California, which I'm in Connecticut, so it's kind of hard to connect with those people. But there's some people in New York, but it's really big kind of thing that people are really into. But at the same time, I noticed this year, like 2 or 3 like major companies and stores like closed down recently. So I don't know how good they're doing.
You mean like companies making those toys and stuff?
Companies selling the toys, actually, and some making them too, yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's just, I don't know.
I
What
think
works
it's
like in a
like
big
the
box
comic
store. Or go ahead.
I was just saying, like, I think it's a lot like the comic thing. A lot of people get into it, they're like really into it, they want to make it, and they do these amazing things, and then it's sometimes hard to sell. But the thing that is good about it is a lot of them sell for a much higher price point, so you can make a little bit of money a little bit easier. I definitely made more money with toys than I did with comics.
Oh, yeah? So you sold some then, like at cons and stuff, or what?
Yep, at cons, on my site. I pretty much sold out of all my original stuff.
Nice.
It took a while, but...
Yeah. So were you making them like one at a time, or like you said you were casting some stuff? Did you get into that kind of mass producing kind of stuff, or?
Well, yeah, it takes it's a lot of work.
Yeah.
He was saying, what was it, Robert is your name? Yeah,
Yeah.
Robert was saying, it's definitely a lot of work, and my usually out of like one set of like silicone and all that, I can get like 25-piece small figures out of it, like
Before the
2-inch
Yeah,
figures.
before the mold starts breaking down or something.
No, I still have the same molds. I can use
Oh.
those probably up to like 100 or so. But yeah, just the material. I just have to buy more material to make
Oh,
molds.
right. Okay.
Yeah, that's why that someone recommended that dry stone. It's made by U.S.
Is that-
System, I think, or
Is that like a resin? That dry stone?
no,
What is
no,
it?
no. It's like a plaster, but it's made specifically for this kind of stuff. The thing and resin is awesome, and it's obviously lightweight, and it can be easy to paint. Although getting the paint to stay on might be a little rougher. I tried doing pendants, and that can easily. I mean, the paint will just wear off it eventually. But this dry stone is very porous, and it paints really nicely. But of course, it's heavier and it can break. If it falls, it'll break.
Oh,
But the thing with silicone is you're dealing with the two parts, and it's kind of toxic. And some of them aren't as you don't have to measure them precisely. You can kind of be in the right ballpark. But the dry stone is just water. Mix it up with water and pour it, and it dries pretty quickly. About 30 minutes or so, you pull it out of the mold. Then you let it sit for like a day, and then you can paint it.
Oh, very cool. Well, I don't know. I'm all.
gonna check on my daughters for a second, and I'm gonna see if I can find one of my. My wife went out, so I'm gonna see if I can find one, and see if it'll show up on camera or not. I'll be right
Okay,
back.
cool. All right.
Okay.
Jeff, how did you make the? I know you did. You were doing stop motion animation for a little while. What did you make that stuff out of?
Man, that was just cobbled together. Really, it was like a lot of Sculpey and just all sorts of stuff. Wire, fabric, painted fabric, and like I was making the armatures just from stuff I got at the hardware store.
Yeah, well, that's basically what the toy guys do. I mean, Sculpey is like, that's like the biggest thing that everybody uses. So.
Yeah, that's how I got involved with that guy that was making the toys. His name is John Riggle, and because he's an animator too, and we just started talking, and he's like, "Oh, you can paint. I need some package art." So it's a cool thing. I really like to do some more stuff with him. I think that it's like there's a huge business there, or something.
Oh yeah, I mean that Ray Harryhausen, or a couple of those Ray Harryhausen documentaries came out on Netflix, and I've watched them multiple times. I'm like, I want to do stop motion animation, but it's like it's another one of those things that how do you make money with it? But it's still fun to do it at least.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's the thing is like how do you make money at it? That was one thing I couldn't figure out, but I didn't stick with it either. If you could really stick with it and do cool stuff, I think you probably could figure out a way, but you gotta have that.
Do you have your videos of stop motion on YouTube? Because I actually used to do stop motion when I was a little kid. It's kind of nostalgic.
See, everybody wants in on that. Yeah, if you go to my my YouTube channel, there's some clips and
Yeah,
stuff.
I'll check it out.
Video of your Kickstarter video with that stop motion. It was great. Looked amazing.
Welcome. I know. I wish I could have stuck with it, but it's just I don't know. It's just tough. You gotta pick your battles, I guess.
And
stick with your strengths.
Did you? If you might have just mentioned it, but were you self-taught in that, or?
Yeah, I mean, I always wanted to do it. Like ever since I was a kid. But like back when I was a kid, it was just the bar was, I guess, too high for me. I couldn't figure out. Like I remember looking for, a camera, that you could, stop frame with, and I just couldn't figure out where to get one. I live in Colorado. There's not like, any kind of movie business here or anything, and it was like I used to make little movies with my little camcorder that my uncle gave me,
Yeah.
but they weren't, anything but. And it just, I don't know, to really learn how to do it, I just couldn't figure it out. And then, like, when the internet kind of came along, and I started looking around at all the stuff I like, and there's just kind of this big, like everything really, little niche community that's sort of building, and it's easier now because you can shoot with even like webcams or just any kind of camera.
Yeah.
There's like programs where you can get the live feed. I remember the whole live feed thing was just something I couldn't figure out either, and now it's like you just download a program and you got a live feed right there, and you could animate something like tonight if you wanted to start, you know what I mean?
Yeah, and you can
And not to mention all
effects
the
on top of
tutorials
it.
you can find just to help out.
What'd you say, Robert?
No, not to mention just the amount of tutorials on YouTube or whatever. Same thing with
Yeah.
the casting. I looked at so many videos and
Yeah.
and forums and everything.
Yeah, that was just what I was doing. I was just getting on there and looking that stuff up. I had never really done molds or anything, and just,
I've got a couple of my. This is one of the dry stones. I don't know
Oh,
if you
cool.
guys are gonna be able to see this well. It's the Easter Island Moai.
Yeah.
So that was a urethane mold, and then dry stone, which again it's like a plaster.
Yeah.
And I did this little guy. I sold out of these.
That's great.
This one cracked, so I never sold it. I just kind of kept it. And then this was my first dry stone.
Oh, that's awesome.
Wow.
That looks super familiar. I wonder if I saw that somewhere.
Well, you might have seen it on my website or on my Facebook page.
Yeah.
It's weird. All the toy stuff I was listening to and reading about, I never heard anybody talk about using dry stone, but that looks like a pretty cool medium.
Yeah, I forget who recommended that to me, and you get it. The problem is, at least here in South Florida, there's nowhere I can get it locally. And I think it was shipped from, I want to say, Pittsburgh, but I could be wrong. But so the shipping costs as much as it was like a 25-pound tub of dry stone.
Wow.
And I think the shipping was, I think it may have been like $60 or $70, and half of that was shipping. So if you can find it locally, it's something, and you'll get a ton of casts with that, that 25-pound bucket. And this was Super Sculpey, another Fez chimp I did, which just never, I had plans for it and I never did anything with. But yeah, that dry stone is pretty nice. It paints beautifully, it really does.
Is that what you were making the initial sculpts with? Is that a Sculpey?
No. Originally I started with Super Sculpey, but then when I made my first tiki mug, I did the sculpt for it and someone else produced it for me. And you have to do it in Roma Plastilina, and preferably number 3, which is really hard. I don't know if you've ever used it. It's like a brick, and you got to start warming it up.
Got to make a hot box.
I'm sorry?
Did you got to make a hot box for it, or that's what?
Or this. I read so many things. Some people get old crock pots and just line it with a bag and put it in there for like a half hour. So I did something similar. Or you can use a heat lamp and heat it up and then start using it. But once I started using it, it's really nice. And then the firmest Sculpey, I forget which one it is. It's like bubblegum compared to Roma Plastilina. I just can't get the detail in that I can with the Roma. So I just continued with the Roma Plastilina, and with that you have to do a plaster mold.
Right.
So that's what I did. The smaller chimp and the Moai, and a couple other things I have were all done with plaster mold. And then I bought a kiln and I was doing ceramic as well, just firing them and painting the ceramic. Painting ceramic is really nice as well.
Wow.
It's very porous and it paints nicely.
Yeah. Yeah, don't you, when you paint ceramic, don't you cook it on there? Like, put it back in the kiln after you paint it?
No, well, you can, that's the glaze. I tried to do my own mugs here, but I went into it blind, and it's really difficult. There's a long learning curve for getting ceramics right, and even people who know it, they'll put a bunch of stuff in, and it just won't come out the way they wanted. So I never quite got to do my own mugs, which is what I wanted to do. I hope to get back to that soon. So I recently did some busts. They're on my website, and those I just do the initial firing, so you get what's called the bisque firing, and then I just painted those with acrylic.
Mm-hmm.
And it's, again, really, really nice. It takes paint well.
That's cool. Yeah, it's fun to mess around with. That's for sure.
Oh, yeah. It's a lot of fun. And it's a nice break from drawing. at times.
Absolutely. It made me really inspired me actually after doing all that stop motion stuff was to get back into painting. I'm like, yeah, I love painting.
Yeah, painting is definitely my thing for sure.
Yeah. What about you, Peter? When's a stop motion movie coming out?
Oh,
That's like the one thing you're not doing. Where's the animation, man? You're slacking. You got podcasts, you got comics, you got novel writing.
yeah, I do want to do animation. Although it won't be full, it'll just be messing around. Stop motion, my brothers were into that and used to make movies when we were young. Unfortunately, we didn't save any, or they got lost or something, burned or something. But it's amazing what you can do, and it is like a lot of fun. And I did a little sculpting, talking about sculpting. That I wouldn't mind doing, but yeah, it's like anything new added to my list is 20 years down the line.
Yeah. I know that's my problem now. I just don't got time to even think about picking that up. And when I do get the urge, I just hide that stuff so I can't see it.
Time is no one's friend.
No.
Yeah, you got to control your urges sometimes.
Yeah, that's what I'm learning too.
Totally. He said,
So,
I mean, where do you... Oh, go ahead.
I was just going to mention, on your last video, you said you wanted to do these at a standard time and day.
No, you know what? I thought that, but then actually now that you did it, and I think it actually is going to work fine, so don't worry about it. I was kind of shocked when I saw it. It was like at 1 o'clock. I was like, oh no, I might have to go somewhere, but I think it's probably better just seeing that there's some new people that can kind of come, and if it makes it easy for people to get in there, then let's go. Let's just switch it around. I think it's not a bad idea.
Okay.
So.
That's was my thinking. So.
Yeah, I appreciate you doing all the hard work on this thing, Peter. So.
Yeah. No problem, man.
I want to make it as easy as possible for you.
So since Robin and Sid are new, well, Marshall, I'll give you guys the chair if you want to bring up a subject or talk about anything.
Well, Jeff was getting ready to spout off a question there for me. So what was that, Jeff?
I was just wondering about the blank comic book covers I see you painting on.
Yeah.
Yeah. What's up with those things? I have no experience there.
Let's see, where are we? Here we go. It's a comic book. It just comes with this blank cover on it. It actually has a... Oh, my son's getting in there. It actually has a cover underneath. So it's got like the cover of the comic book there, and then it comes with a blank one. I'm working on a Hulk right now. Got a lot of darkening to do on this one still. A lot of shading and detail yet. But it's a wraparound cover. And it's just cardstock, so I don't like working on cardstock just because it soaks up the paint too much. There's a lot of you got to do a lot of brush work because for some reason the color pencil on top of the acrylic that I'm using isn't working that great. So I just really dry it really well before you start working color pencil on it.
Are you using those like the airbrush acrylics? Like the ones that come in the little bottles? Yeah.
Yep.
Somebody told me that like the airbrush acrylics have like some kind of varnish in them that makes them slick. Because I've had other people kind of give me that question, like, how do you draw on acrylics? I can't draw on acrylics, and I never really had a problem with it. But I wonder if that might be something to do with it though. Maybe because I use the out of the tube acrylics,
Yeah, I use the tube acrylics as well. But the only thing that I'm noticing is that on this cardstock that they're using for these blank covers is where I'm having issues.
What do you usually paint on? What kind of surface?
I paint on illustration board. I paint on canvas. I painted on tile board. Have you seen it? It's got that white coated surface to it. Like
you mean like this?
Yeah, like for bathroom application.
You mean like the under underboard kind of stuff. I can't remember what they call it. It's like
No,
gray.
no.
Not that stuff.
It's got a white slick surface to it,
Okay.
and it actually holds acrylic paint really well.
Hmm.
And then it's already got a white surface on it if you want to work from with the true color of your paints. If you're not looking for that effect of the like the undertone of the MDF, for example.
Yeah. Oh yeah, no, I know what you mean. That's the one thing about the MDF, unless you gesso it, you got that color to it. But I actually kind of like that. So.
Yeah, it gives a neat effect. I tried it on a Hulk piece, and it actually came out really nice.
Yeah.
I like painting on gesso board or any of those MDFs you buy. That the ones that come pre-gessoed are really convenient because properly gessoing is also time-consuming and sometimes I cut corners on the sanding. But actually, Pearl Art, which is in New York and South Florida, I don't know where else. They're pretty big. They're closing down. And I was just there Friday night, bought a bunch of the gesso boards. I think that everything's going at 50%. I don't know if any of you guys have a local one. I guess you do, Peter, right?
No, I'm from New York, and I used to go to Pearl all the time. It's an amazing store. It's like seven stories high or whatever. But I'm out in Kentucky now, so.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I assume the New York one is closing as well. The South Miami closed already. The Fort Lauderdale one is at like 50 or 70% off everything.
Wow.
And so the lines are huge, as you can imagine. But I picked up, I figured it was a good time to try something I don't do, so I picked up some oil paint. And I started getting into gouache not too long ago. I've got some gouache, but I bought a lot of those gesso boards. I love those things.
I didn't even know they sold gesso boards. I always just go to Home Depot and get a sheet of MDF.
I had one around here somewhere. I don't know where I put it. Yeah, they Ampersand makes them. A few companies make them. Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah, I used to gesso like crazy, but now I don't know. It's always kind of a fight with me and the color pencils and the gesso for some reason. It just seems to polish up and get really slick.
Really?
And I just don't like it, and I don't know.
Well,
everybody tells me it's like wrong not to do it, but I just can't. I just given up on it.
I think it depends on the surface. I paint on wood a lot. I'll just paint on a slab of pine, or I buy some maple boards at Home Depot, and you have to gesso those because the paint will just suck right into it. So,
yeah. I kind of like that though. It dries it out faster,
Yeah, but you use like 4 times as much paint by the time you're done.
Yeah.
But so some things you have to gesso, but some, if you don't have to, you don't need to, and you get away with it. I don't think it's necessary.
I tried actually painting oils just straight on MDF, and that's pretty interesting because just like you said, it just sucks the oil up, and it actually just kind of dries it almost as quick as like acrylics. It stays a little bit wet, but you can just keep going, which is kind of wild.
I've yet to use oils ever. I mean, I just started painting like probably 4 years ago, I guess, with acrylic.
Oh wow!
Recently started on gouache.
Oh, gouache, yeah. Gouache is interesting. I really like gouache back, in my art school days. I haven't messed around with them much, lately.
It's a little challenging, actually.
Yeah. They're kind of like almost like an opaque watercolor in a way.
Yeah, but then you can easily kind of mess up what you just painted. So it's kind of challenging. It'll move it
because
around.
it doesn't, it won't ever seem to be color fast in a way, like acrylics, Like once it dries out, it's there. But with that stuff, you can definitely pick it back up and,
Yeah, Peter said if we wanted to bring anything up, there's something that I've heard you talk about, Jeff, on your videos. Are my girls too loud? They're like screaming over there.
Nah, that's all right.
That's cool.
Somebody's getting murdered at your house. That's all right.
I'll tell them in a bit to keep down.
We've all dealt with children. It's cool. They murder each other from time to time.
Yeah. You, Jeff, you've mentioned about sketch cards. I just got into it about a year ago, working for the companies. I know you've had you've made your opinion on that clear, I think, and I agree with it for the most part. But I think someone like you, especially, would still benefit from doing them. The pay is horrible, the rate per card is well, I shouldn't say horrible because in the end I think it balances out. The rate per card is very low.
Yeah.
But like your Star Wars stuff, I think you'd get legions of fans really doing that. I was asked to do Mars Attacks about a year ago, and I was excited. That's the only work I'd ever done in sketch cards with, and it's tops, of course. And I completed that, and then they just start, asking you to do everything. You start getting requests from every company, and to the point where I've turned them down. And actually, I'm starting to wind down on it. It's very hard work, but I think it brings you a lot of fans for sure. And even though the per card rate is low, but your returns you get back. You choose whichever ones you want, whatever rate you've worked out or determined. Sometimes you can't bargain.
Yeah.
But you have the potential anyway of making tons of money back on those.
Yeah.
And my first Star Wars set, I didn't get paid very very much for the whole set, a couple $100 or so for about 100 cards. But I got 9 back, I think, and sold them all within probably a month.
Yeah.
And I do believe it's worth it. Now the way you work, the deadlines, it might burn you out, which is what it did to me, or it might drive you nuts to do what you want to do on a card. So I definitely take a different approach. I do quick, loose sketches. I work in my acrylics, and I try to do a nice card. You're not going to get what the work you do, like the one you were doing the other day. You're not going to get that quality or that maybe level of detail on a little 2.5 by 3.5 card, or 2.5 by 3, whatever it is. So you have to kind of approach it, I think, a little differently. And I know in the case of some people, I've got my day job, but some people don't want to wait a few months to get paid or get their cards back. And I know that could be a serious deterrent to doing this work, because you're going to do a lot of work and you're not going to see anything for 3 or 4 months.
Yeah.
You're not going to get your little rate, whatever measly amount it is. You're not going to get that check for a few months, and you're not going to get your returns. Although now, like Topps now is letting the artists keep the returns.
Yeah.
So you don't have to return them, but you're not supposed to technically sell them till the set is out. So you're still kind of waiting on revenue.
Right.
But in terms of building a fan base, I think it's something that, I mean, I'm glad I did it. I'm in the middle of Marvel's masterpieces now. They're redoing. Joe Jusko's doing the whole thing again, and they want the sketch artist to just do pieces inspired by his previous work. I'm in the middle of that, and I negotiated down because I couldn't handle the amount of cards. So I took a far less amount of cards and a lesser amount of returns, of course, as well. And I'm probably winding it down. I may not do as many because it is tough work. You're just kind of a slave to it for a month or so. But anyway, I do think there's an upside to it, and that is the fan base and the potential income on your return cards.
Well, yeah, I mean, I agree. I agree. And I know what you mean. I've seen the cards on eBay going, $500-800 sometimes, and it's incredible. And
I can't say I've gotten that rate. I think my highest one was probably about 170 or so.
That's good money for a card. I mean, that's pretty awesome.
Yeah, and then I've seen my cards go for as low as probably $40 or $50. But that's someone else selling them. I won't list them that low when I put them up.
Yeah. I don't know. The thing about the cards, I don't know. I've gotten myself into a weird spot with them guys now because it's like I've shot my mouth off so much. You know what I mean? It's like, especially the Star Wars guys, they know my opinions. I've even been, asked by them at times to work, and I've kind of, basically been like, you want to pay my rate, which is like, $50 or $60 a card, then, I'll work for you, and they've just, threw their hands up with me and stuff.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like, for one thing, I feel like I'd have to not only eat my words, but be a little bit hypocritical to kind of go back to work for those guys.
Yeah.
And I still, you know, I don't know. You know, you're right. I need money. I need fans now, but it's also like I still feel that it's kind of what's wrong with the industry. You know, getting a bunch of guys to work for $1 a card or whatever, and then for those guys to have to make their money by selling their cards on eBay, I just feel like it's just like fucked up. So I
Yeah.
appreciate, you know, what you're saying, but I don't know if I can do it.
And again, as I said, someone who's, you know, you've made this decision. You're a full-time artist, and your family depends on that. So
Right.
I know that that
It's like,
and gallery work. Like I know you have that piece at Creature Feature. I have a few pieces for them coming up. One they already have in hand, and then one is their Christmas show.
yeah.
And gallery work is also a little bit of a luxury that probably I can do because I've got my day job, where you work on a piece and you're not going to see if it sells any revenue from it for a couple months or more.
Yeah.
And you know, if it doesn't sell, you get it back. You'll probably be able to sell it.
Yeah.
But it's also kind of like the cards. It has its definite benefits in that people are going to see your work. People who don't know who you are. I've definitely gotten collectors from gallery work for sure.
Yeah.
So it's something that's worth it. But yeah, in certain situations, sketch cards is probably just a luxury, and you know, of your time. You know, your time is too much of a luxury to devote to that.
Yeah. I mean, one of the big pluses, I know, like, you know, I'm friends with Mark Ratz, and he did a set of Star Wars cards, and he did them a lot like what you're talking about, just kind of did them as sketches, treated them like sketches, and you know, just busted them out. And then, you know, but he did it with a real, like, aim to get, like, once you work on a licensed property, you can go to these Star Wars conventions, basically. And I can't go to those either because I've never worked on any licensed Star Wars stuff, you know. And that just works like gangbusters for that guy because, you know, I mean, not only, you know, he's doing, like, a lot of pro stuff anyway, but, you know, I've seen, like, a lot of, like, pretty amateur type people going to those cons and cleaning up too. And I don't know. The whole sketch art thing is just, I should have, you know, kept my mouth shut and just, I shouldn't make videos.
Well, you know, if you ever
Get myself in trouble.
if you ever reconsider or whatever, or approach it, or want to approach it differently, and you say they've contacted you, you can certainly do a small amount. Hopefully the deadline won't be too crazy because it can be extremely crazy. But you know, you do a small amount. You negotiate for maybe 2 or 3 returns. I don't know. And you'll probably make decent money off of it, I would think, especially with your skill. And then you've got that under your belt. You know, I mean, I heard that they don't like to negotiate with first timers, but I think probably anybody, especially when they're delivering the amount of skill and talent that you have, I think a person like that can definitely say, I'd love to work on this set, but I really only have time to do 10. You know, and I like 2 back.
Yeah.
So it's just something to consider, maybe.
Yeah. No, I appreciate, you know, the tip and stuff, and you know, you're right. And honestly, I you know, I get that freaking message on Facebook like every week from somebody. Hey, Jeff, why don't you do sketch cards? You know?
Yeah.
And you're right. I probably should. So.
Out of curiosity, how do you?
With WoW?
Say again?
What's the circumstance with, like, getting into doing Warcraft cards and stuff? Is that similar, or is it different scenario?
You're talking about like the game cards, right?
Yeah.
I don't know.
That's completely different. That's like you gotta really work for the position.
And you're talking about the base cards, which is the good work to get, you know, where you're just doing a little painting and it's being printed as part of the base set.
Yeah.
Jeff Miracola, who's in the Artcasters group, he does magic cards.
Okay.
And he's got a huge fan base from that.
Yeah, he's actually huge. And there's another guy, Pete Marbacher. He does YouTube videos, and I think, you know, you can get into that. You're rocking.
Yeah. Hey, I got a note to add to all that. I was in there was a card game that came out about 20 years ago called Ruins World, and I think my advice on any of that is don't let somebody else make the deal and then subcontract you on, because then you don't see any money. Let's see, this is actually the back of the card. It is one of my pieces, a screaming face coming out of granite.
Nice.
So I ended up getting the whole back of the cards, the box, the whole display was mine. I did like some of the characters and a lot of the armor and weapons, and I must have done about 70 cards for that thing. I didn't see one dime out of that deal. I got all my paintings back, but I was so furious that it was such a shady deal that all of them went in the trash, and I just stopped doing them. But now I've got a friend that works at Wizards of the Coast, and she's been there for probably about 16, 17 years. So I'm trying to worm my way into that little venue doing Magic cards.
Yeah.
I guess I'll keep you all posted.
A friend of mine did. He used to work for Wizards of the Coast, but I think the thing is, like, a lot of this whole industry is like just changed on its head, Because I know, like, a lot of the gaming sketch cards or whatever you call them, cards, they didn't pay real well back, in the day, and now it seems to be like these guys are turning into superstars, like you said, Miracola and stuff, and I think it's really changed. But he even back then he did a lot of like the box art and stuff like you said, and he made pretty good money doing that. But the deadlines were rough on him, I know.
Yeah.
And he was very art directed too. It wasn't like, I'm just going to come in and paint the way I paint. They would give him like pieces like, here's like here's what's on this box. We want like the moment right before that and stuff like that. And I'd be like, oh my God, I'd hate painting that. So I don't know. What else have you done, Sid, like professionally and stuff?
Well, I left the active duty military in the Marine Corps in 1993, and about 3 months after I got out, I opened up an airbrush shop, and I did that for most of my life, airbrushing T-shirts and license plates and hats and you name it. I did.
How did that work? Were you like one of these guys you see at the mall with like the T-shirt shop and?
I worked at a 3-day-a-week swap meet, and I made a really, really nice living doing it. So I worked Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, and the rest of the week I could do murals on cars and motorcycles and helmets and whatever. I didn't have to stay at the shop all day. I've been at the mall before too, and you're there 7 days a week, 14 hours a day, and it just wears on you.
Interesting.
Yeah, I've done because I've been airbrushing 31 years now. I got picked up by an airbrush manufacturer as a sponsor years ago, and a paint manufacturer. Two different paint manufacturers picked me up to do their work for them, and be in the magazine ads. They'd hired me to do the trade shows for them, where I do product demos and teach classes. I guess like everybody else that does it full time, I kind of got burnt out doing it, and I ended up going back into the military, and I stayed there until I retired just 4 years ago.
Oh, okay.
So now I'm back at it.
Now you're back in the art thing again.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. But I've had to go around. I've made it from different manufacturers. I've got another. It looks like I might be making the. I don't know if anyone knows what the SEMA show is. It goes on in Vegas every year. Big automotive paint industry trade show. That's something that it looks like I might get an invite to that from my airbrush manufacturer to go sit in the booth and demo product.
That's really cool.
What's that?
Where's that happen?
It's in October in Las Vegas.
Ah, cool.
So yeah, it's pretty neat. I ran like a little thing in the latest issue of Airbrush Magazine for Airbrush Action. Just a little tip on putting magnets on the bottom of your bottle so they don't tip over your paint bottles. And so it's kind of like my first step back into doing more, I guess, getting out there more in the airbrush industry, like I used to be.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I get people asking me to do stuff like that, paint their gas tanks and stuff, but it's kind of beyond me. I'm not a very good airbrush artist. I just kind
Well,
of.
I'll tell you what, Jeff. What you do with the color pencils on the MDF and with the
Yeah.
cutouts, I've got a partner of mine. His name is Mickey Harris, and he's been doing some really, really nice patriotic cars for, big time collectors. And he does this. He was doing the same thing, working with water-based acrylics on metal,
Really?
and using color pencils for shading and highlighting.
Wow.
And all you got to do is put a real good sealer, automotive sealer, over the top of that, or hire somebody to do that portion of it.
Hmm. That's pretty interesting. So, like, how would he? I guess he just like write on the primer coat or something, so he could still draw on it. I didn't think about that, but
Yeah, and well, no, all you do is you take you don't really have to do a primer coat. You just scuff the shine off of the base paint,
yeah,
off the clear coat, just so you got something for the paint to adhere to.
yeah,
You put a good wax and grease remover wipe down, and you can sketch like I do with a lot of my mural work. I sketch right on the metal with pencil, and then
Wow.
I do a lot of freehand. I do a lot of handheld shields. Not a lot of masking involved in what I do, but the handheld masks like you do, Jeff, with your paintings,
Mhm.
that's really all you need.
Wow. Huh. That's pretty interesting. I never thought about that.
Yeah. So believe it or not, you can do it.
I'll have to try something on our car.
Yeah, there's I think on one of my or you know what? See if like your arts and crafts store carries small metal license plates or even
Yeah.
anything metal like that. Give it a try on a metal blank sign blank or something.
Yeah.
Just give it a little scuff, knock the shine off of it, clean it off. Basically when I wipe something down, I just use Windex, the blue Windex,
Mhm.
and it gives you a nice clean surface to work from. Do your sketching on there. You don't want to be wiping down in between everything. You can hit it with a tack rag to take
Yeah.
off a lot of the overspray because acrylics are pretty dry,
Mhm.
and that way you're not actually wiping off the paint, and it adheres really well. And like I said, I've had a lot of good luck with that golden, even doing helmets with golden acrylics, airbrush acrylics.
Really? Huh. Yeah, that's the exact stuff I use, so that's pretty wild. Huh. Yeah, maybe I'll try, give something a try. I don't know. Never thought about it. I thought I was just, huh. Because that's
Yeah, so
something
long
that
as
definitely people, I think of the last con I did, about 3 people kind of came up, and I'm like, I don't know how to paint a motorcycle,
yeah.
So,
Yeah, go make buddies with a paint shop and see if they'll do your clear coats for you. So long as they don't wipe it down with a solvent
yeah.
cleaner, they're good. Just a light touch tack rag, and they can clear right over it.
Really? Hmm. Okay. Alright. Who else has got something to talk about here?
Well, I guess that I don't know. This is something that I've brought up in the synergy things, but it's definitely a question that I've been asking a lot of people. But I'm gonna be hopefully getting into the Cubert school and everything. But I was wondering, what type of jobs should one usually in the art field, in any art field, it doesn't have to be comics, but go for right after they graduate?
Oh God.
When you figure out, let me know. That would be awesome information.
That's like the worst part of it, right when you get out of school. I'm sorry to say.
I think
Yeah,
Colorist. Everybody needs colorists.
Hmm.
Kristen, what are you going for? I mean, I had a buddy. He went to the Kubert school too, but this was so long ago. It's like completely different now. But when he got out, he actually got a job doing like coloring and stuff for not Marvel's main thing, but they had kind of like a separate entity that did all their kind of advertising and production and stuff.
Mhm.
And he basically went into that and worked right out of school. But then it was funny. It's like once it switched over to the computer coloring, he lost his he lost his niche because he was doing it all with airbrush and stuff. And then he was like out of work for 10 years trying to get back into illustration and stuff. But what's like what are you going for, like with your career?
Well, I want to hopefully be one of those people that makes their own work eventually, but probably if I had to choose like inking, coloring, pencil, I'd probably be a penciler.
Hmm.
But also another thing that I want to do that would probably pay the bills for the time being while I'm still making my name is storyboard work. Since my main goal is even if I don't get into comics per se, I want to tell stories with art.
Hmm.
So my main thing is probably if I don't get into comics, I'll probably stay with storyboard. But I mainly want to pay the bills probably with storyboard and then do comics. And then when the comic thing takes off, then I can do full comics. But that's just, I mean, I will say right off the bat, I have absolutely no idea what I'm talking about because I'm not even in college yet. So I don't really know what I will feel like when I'm actually in my senior year of college and getting ready. So I guess I'm just going to cross that bridge when I get there. However, that's kind of my kind of gist of it right now.
Yeah, I mean, you shouldn't sell yourself short, though. Really, yeah, just because you haven't been to college or whatever. I mean, once you get out, you're really, I don't know, you're gonna have some more experience, but it's not like it answers all your questions. I mean, like, are you trying to get into? I mean, like storyboards. That's a good idea. It's a good industry, and it pays a lot of money. But once again, it's a tough industry to get into.
Mm-hmm.
But what is like, are you trying to work in comics at like a Marvel, DC, that kind of thing, or are you trying to do your own comics?
I'm trying to do my own comics, ideally.
Yeah.
There's a thing that Brian Bendis says that I really like, and it's like, if you want to make comics, just make comics.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a matter of, the people that get all the press are people like, Matt Fraction or Mark Waid or whoever who make a name at Marvel or DC or wherever, and then they end up going into a creator-owned or a small press kind of thing where they have more control, and then that gets really popular and everything. But A, they're either the exception, or B, you're only seeing that part of their career. You only know who Mark Waid is because he's already worked his way through the trenches and put in that time, and he got a name, and then you're seeing his smaller press stuff. But the best way to get noticed by a Marvel or a DC is to start putting some comic work out there that people can notice and start making a name for yourself that way, because there's way less overhead and your control as an artist is total, and then there's no competition. There's everybody wants to work for Marvel or DC. That's just, I always make a whole big thing about how I like having creative control, and this is my story, and I don't have to. But I mean, if Marvel asked me if they want me, hey, would you like to draw something? I would be like, yeah.
Yeah, ain't that the truth? We're all like independent, yeah, and then it's like the second they show up with like a big box of cash, you're like, yeah.
Okay, I want to draw Spider-Man. That'd be great. So yeah, that's just, I think, and then there's no guarantee it's going to be successful, but there's no guarantee you'll ever get into Marvel or DC through the quote-unquote traditional ways anyway. So that's my that's just the one thing that I've heard that I really, really like is if you want to make the comics, just make the comics, and then everything else can come afterwards. Or can come as a result of that.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. I mean, that really, I mean, it's because that's what I suffered from. I did work in comics, like when I was younger, like in the '90s, but it just that was my problem. I could go into that situation, when I had a job and work as a penciler, but it's like to do my own stuff, I just never get it done, and it's like if you could get yourself to somehow produce your own stuff, I mean, it gives you a chance to either make or break in front of everybody, and I also agree with John too that if you can make a splash somewhere like the internet or whatever, then those people they are looking for people. They're looking for the next hot thing.
And something else too is like the thing that gets me is Matt Fraction is getting a lot of press right now because he was kind of Marvel's poster child for a few years, and he was the writer on their big summer crossover Fear Itself a few years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And he's done all these critically acclaimed books there, and now he is kind of breaking away from Marvel, and he's got several creator-owned works, and Sex Criminals is the best reviewed comic of the year, and he's one of these people that's kind of being crowned as this indie genius who's making it without Marvel anymore. But the thing that nobody ever mentions on this is that he was publishing works out of small press publishers for years before he ever got hired by Marvel. He did comics for IDW and like publishers that aren't even around anymore just to get that. I mean, Marvel ended up being the stepping stone to him doing stuff. But, that all became because he went and just started making comics on his own anyway. So, anyway, that's just the advice that I've heard that I really, really like.
There are plenty of those guys. It's like Rick Remender was an indie guy for years.
Yeah.
Marvel picked him up, and now I believe he's doing both again. He's doing his own indie work and working from home. Doing better at it.
Yeah,
That's all
absolutely.
the press he's gotten.
Yeah, just to piggyback off that, I don't know if anyone follows Todd McFarlane on Facebook, but about a month ago he was posting his journey into working for Marvel, and he received so many rejection letters initially, working his way in. They'd look at his portfolio and tear it up for him, send it back to him, and he just was very, obviously, working his way into Marvel Comics, and he's what's he doing now? Everything.
Yeah, he wouldn't take no for an answer, which is a pretty good lesson, I think.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Well, and I
Is
think
that Frank Cho? I think Frank Cho posted his rejection letter or something.
I know one fellow
years
made a whole book of his rejection letters and kind of had it not published, but he had it on his website, to prove that he could actually make a book with just how many he got.
Yeah.
Have you guys seen the videos or subscribed to the YouTube channel of Will Terry?
Yeah.
Yeah.
no.
Will Terrell?
He gives a lot of great advice, and one of the things he says is definitely an artist nowadays has to just branch out in every possible direction. Something you mentioned occasionally, Jeff, when you talk about the Kindle stuff and the self-publishing, and that would be, I think it's just great advice, especially for someone coming out of school, is just tentacles out in every direction. A comic book, if you've got it, just publish it. A blog, your YouTube channel, you have to be out everywhere. And he goes into much more detail than I will about, you're just competing globally. There's millions of extremely talented people out there, and really it's like they're your next door neighbor now. So you're competing against every single person. So you have to stand out as best as you possibly can, and hopefully put out great work, and hopefully get noticed. And a lot of different streams of revenue is what an artist really needs. It could be work for hire, and it could be a few royalties from a book you have on Amazon or whatever. But that's how you gotta think, because the state of the art, especially with illustration, one of his episodes he talks about, we use it at my job every day. We have a ThinkStock account, and it costs practically nothing to have, an enormous amount of illustrations at your, disposal. At any moment, you can just download an illustration, and it's pennies compared to someone who wants to charge a couple thousand or $1,000 for a spot illustration. A lot of people are going to go with the stock art.
Yeah.
So the nowadays is just extremely difficult and competitive. So definitely branching out into every possible. We were talking about the little monsters, the sculpts. If that's what you do, you want to do that. I mean, there's just so many things that you can get into, and as many as you can. Of course, I always think there has to be the underlying love for it. You have to love it. I don't think you should have dollar signs in your eyes and say, what's gonna bring me the most money? Let me work on that. To some degree, you need that because you might be supporting yourself or your family. But I try to always approach things. May not do it 100% of the times, but I try to do what I like, and I've got a lot of paintings that I've sold that are just me sitting down and just wanting to paint what I want and what I love, and it usually ends up a positive experience. I think when you approach it that way. Again, like I said, you have to survive and you need an income, so you're not gonna devote all your time to something that will absolutely not sell or has zero audience. You can do that. You can take some time and work on that stuff. But I think there has to be a underlying really a passion and love for the topic.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, that's the thing. Like, it's hard to chase the money sometimes like that because it's just like just the way the industry's turned over in the last 10 years is just everything I figured out like pre 2000 just went out the window by 2003.
Right.
So it's kind of like, I don't know. I think the thing, like you said, with the multiple income streams is if you can start doing that now, man, I wish I would have been thinking that way back, in the day. And the other thing I think is when I first started out, I just wish I was a lot more aggressive. I think a lot of times I'd look at something and I think, yeah, that might work, but I didn't try it because I thought it might not work, But
yeah.
I kind of wish I would have just tried every one of those things because, like, kind of looking back over my career and stuff like that, it seems like almost everybody who went ahead with that kind of stuff had some sort of success. You know what I mean? So, like, the guys who were like, I'm going to all the cons and I'm going to show everywhere, those guys had some success. The guys who were like, I'm going to self-publish my comic, they had some success. The guys that stuck with it, some of them actually had a lot of success. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty much you don't benefit from something unless you actually do it.
Yeah, that's for sure.
And it's good to be aggressive. It's really good to hustle. And I don't think anybody in any art field is money hungry because they would be in something else.
Yeah.
I know.
You can make more money doing anything else. A lot of people working at McDonald's make more money than most of the people in the art field.
You're bringing me down, Peter.
Don't say it.
See, I do want to say I don't think that that's necessarily true. I think there's a lot of perception bias amongst, especially people who want to start getting into it. Because, one of the things that I constantly see in webcomics communities, on forums and message boards and anything is, how do I make money at this? How do I make it? Because I really want to make this webcomic thing into my career. And it's like, a very, very few have done that. And it is possible to do that even now. But I've done my comic for 4 years and I've never seen a profit. I've sunk a shit ton of money into it, but I've never seen a profit off it. I'm not expecting one anytime soon. And that's, I think, more... I think that's more likely the reality for most people who get into it is for webcomics. You're not going to see it, and I don't think getting into regular comics you're going to get. You've got very good odds of getting an easy living. You know what I mean? And I think people see the success stories, when they're 13 and first, when they're first getting bit by the art bug. I think they see the success stories, and I think. For some of them who don't get who aren't just flat out told, it's a hard thing to make a living at. I think there's some perception bias. I think they have the idea that's like, hey, lots of people make really good livings off of this. It's like we can't all be the penny arcade guys.
Right.
I'm the tough love guy today. That's my.
Well, if you're looking, John, if you're looking at your career. as somebody else? Like, what advice would you give that person?
Uh, depends on what they're in it for. A lot. Like,
Okay, what advice would you give them in the sense of knowing what you know now, what works better to make it work?
Well, I don't see. That's the thing. For certain values of work, I don't know what that is. Like if you're looking at it, like, how do you make a career out of this? I don't know. I've got a full-time job beyond this, and this is probably going to be my last Emerald City coming up here as an Artist Alley, because I've just lose my ass on it every year, and I keep losing my ass on it more every year. So I mean, financially, I don't know. I honestly don't know what makes it work yet. But I mean, if as an artistic endeavor, I can say, I would say, actually, I take any chance that I can to make fun of him because he's an easy target, and I'm not that creative. But Rob Layfeld actually had the very best advice I've ever heard on this, and he was talking print comics instead of web comics. But he said, if you find an omniscient genie in a lamp out in the desert, and the genie looks at you and says, you'll never make it rich or popular in comics, would you still do it? And I mean, that's you got to be able to say yes to that. And if you can honestly say yes, then shit, give it a shot. Even if you can't make it financially, you can make something worthwhile artistically, and I think that's important.
Yeah. So that's obviously why you're doing it then, because you're like the way you're talking about not making any money and stuff. Seems like the answer is just quit.
Honestly, I'm not even gonna lie. That has crossed my mind. It's like, would my time be better served doing something else? But on the other hand, I feel what I'm doing is worthwhile. So why would I stop?
Right.
I think
that makes sense to me, and I understand that, dude. I'm right there with you, hanging my head against the wall for all these years. So you know what I mean. I know what you're talking about.
I feel that I have at this point I've given up hope that it's ever going to pay my bills. But on the other hand, I feel like money isn't the only value. And shit, the last couple of weeks, all of my friends have had to listen to me bitch about it and ask if I should give up. But the answer to that question keeps being no. So I mean, it is worthwhile. You can get something out of it, even if you're just doing it for artistic reasons or storytelling reasons, or even just as a hobby.
Yeah, and that's valid too. It's just like the stop motion thing, It's like it's good to have hobbies just because you want to do it,
Yeah.
So.
I think one thing that's interesting too is is just the idea of just getting involved, which I think Kristen, you're already doing, and a lot of us are already doing, but especially you at a young age, starting off. Now, I wish I was getting involved back when I was in your age, but if you can break in any little way, just because you love comics, say it's coloring or whatever, you'll start to be around more people, or if you're doing like conventions, you'll start to be around more people who do it. You'll get your first break doing like some little job, and then that'll lead to something else, and that can lead to something else. So I think it's important just to basically get involved in the community of it.
Yeah.
And also there was an example of this girl I just found out actually a couple days ago. Her name is Becky Kalunin. I think she's popular now. I don't know anything about her, but I heard
she sounds really familiar.
She started off doing mini comics. That's how she started.
Yeah.
And eventually I guess the story she says is how she kind of made one of her first breaks was she was doing mini comics, and then she actually just nicely asked like really popular people on Twitter, like Jim Lee popular, like she asked him and a bunch of other people, like, nicely, can I send you one of my comics, and would you like check it out and let me know what you think? And she ended up getting some of her first breaks through that, and then now she's just done tons of books.
Yeah.
And a lot of it's on the indie circuit too.
she's really gifted and really hot right now, and she does books for DC and I think IDW, and but she also self-publishes. She makes sure to self-publish a miniseries of her own each year, so she always has something new to push. And she does the convention circuit, and
Yeah.
I actually met her at Emerald City this year, and
Yeah.
like she was just very, very cool and very, very classy.
I think part of the approach too, contacting people, like Marshall was saying, like maybe she contacted big people in the industry like Jim Lee or whatever, is also to just kind of push your work out into popular blogs and people writing about stuff. You got to be aggressive. You can't just do it and hope that people find your site and your blog and your webcomic or whatever it is. You got to also kind of do your own self promotion and get it out there. I used to not think that way, to be honest. I don't have a lot of time for that. But I've been getting more in that frame of mind. Someone I met at the Hukilau, which is a tiki festival I do every year, told me about Boing Boing. I had never heard of Boing Boing. It's one of the biggest blogs out there. It's like I don't know, do you guys know? It's like a pop culture kind of website.
I've heard of it.
Yeah, I've heard of it. I don't know it per se, but I've heard of it.
Yeah, it's boingboing.net, I believe. So anyway, someone at Hukilau told me he follows my work, and I had painted on these LPs, actual LPs. I was invited to a show where I had to do it, and I kind of liked it, and SuperCon was coming up down here in Florida. So I thought, let me do about 5 or so superhero themed LP covers. So I just painted right on them, and this guy saw it, and he said, this is exactly what the publishers at Boing Boing would love to see. You should let them know. So I sent them an email. I said, look, I did these. I directed them to my website. They blogged it, and I didn't even. The guy had sent me an email, but I had missed it, and I was looking at my stats. My stats were just through the roof.
Yeah.
And everything was coming from Boing Boing. And that night, by the next morning, every LP had sold from my Store Envy store because I had them listed there.
Man.
So you have to, whatever. I'm sure there's tons of blogs that go on about, web comics or anything. I mean, and you have to approach them and just show them your stuff and give them a link. Most of the popular sites like Boing Boing have a little spot for you to suggest a link or suggest a story or whatever it might be. And that's got to be part of your creative process in a way, is just to get your stuff out there and get it known.
Yeah, actually, one of the greatest things I think about this 100-day challenge, just making videos on YouTube, is that I used to be really, really bad with being aggressive. Like, I would not show my art to anyone or even my friends or whatnot because I'd be so embarrassed. But ever since I started really posting it online and stuff, I've been a lot more confident. And I feel like even though I look at it like this, is that no matter what I do, the stuff that I will look back on in the future, if I look back at my old work in the future, I'll think it sucks anyway, but it's nice just to push it out there and know for a fact that if I keep on doing this, I will get better. So, yeah, I just kind of...
Well, to speak to that, I have a couple painter friends, and they aren't really on... they don't have a big presence on Facebook or a website, or at least they don't push it. And one thing I started doing, which a lot of artists do, is process pictures of my paintings, starting from the sketch. Sometimes a painting might take me about 3 or 4 weeks or so. So every couple of nights, I'll just take a picture of the point I'm at and put it on Facebook. And it was kind of hard to do that at the start. And the great thing about it is, almost in every case, I take a photo of where I'm at, and I put it on Facebook, and the minute I see the post up on my timeline, I see about 1,000 horrible, I don't know what you would, just I see a lot of mistakes on my painting, or things that make me cringe or whatever, and I would, it was an effort for me to continue to do this, but I really feel that it helps me quite a bit. I have artist friends who can't believe that I do that. They would never want to show their painting until it's done. But there's something about, and it's probably stuff that I only see. Very few people may notice it, but I think it's really helped me grow quite a bit. And even occasionally, I'll take a picture, and before I post it, I kind of see the thing. But it was weird how just the environment of Facebook, just seeing it up there, made me realize that this is off center, or my focal point is a little weird, or something.
Yeah.
And I feel that I'm starting to notice that now before I even take the picture. So it's been a huge, it's been very educational and very instrumental in improving my painting for sure. And so I don't think anybody should ever be afraid of putting their stuff out there and showing it to as many people as possible. I think you're only going to benefit from that.
And the other thing I was going to say is you're lucky, Kristen, because you are young. You are showing interest and dedication to this at a young age. And how old are you, if you don't mind my asking?
It's 18.
Yeah. See, when I was 18, I was just convinced that I was going to be a comics god, and thus, didn't actually put the dedication to my work, or, the internet was barely a thing, but I wasn't putting my stuff out on the internet. So I wasn't getting any of that, and then it wasn't until like probably 6-7 years ago I was like, what the hell am I doing? I need to, if I'm going to be making comics, I should actually start making comics. So I lost quite a few years just dorking around, and having that youth and actually like getting that education and being willing to do the projects and get them out there, that is going to be that's going to work in your favor very, very quickly. Whereas someone like me has got lost 10 years and is 10 years behind the curve for getting that stuff out there. And
I always thought that I started late, because what happened was when I was in 6th grade, that's when I decided that I wanted to be a comic book artist. But I always felt that like the people who were really good started drawing when they were like 2. So I was like, I've only been seriously drawing or whatnot for like 4 or 5 years. So, I'm still fairly, like, I guess I'm 18, but in artist terms, I'm only 5. So, I always thought I started late.
I was drawing in the womb.
I've been drawing since I was probably 5 years old, but I didn't really come into myself until earlier this year, and I'm 49 years old now.
Yeah.
So I don't think when you start drawing has anything to do with your maturity level as an artist.
Yeah, probably not. I started drawing also at an early age, but only began painting, like I mentioned earlier, when I was 42, about 5 years ago or so. Before that, it was just really drawing my whole life.
yeah,
I didn't start painting until I was 30, so...
My first memories are of drawing, and I spent most of my teenage years and most of my 20s, not actually working to improve my craft, so we can't actually count those as you being an artist.
Yeah.
So no, I'd say you're dedicating yourself at the right time.
That's good.
Yeah,
actually, sorry, go on.
No, I said you have a good head start.
Thanks. But because I've only decided to become an artist professionally again this last year, because originally I wanted to get in something in like forensic science or whatnot, because I originally, when I was in 9th grade and in middle school, I was like, I'm going to become a comic book artist. That was my main thing. And then I met this guy who I kind of had a thing for, and he was like, oh, that's a terrible idea. And at the time, when I was young and stupid, I was like, oh, okay. And then, of course, I kicked myself later for actually saying that. I hate him now. But anyway, I met, because the whole time I was like, oh, I'm not good enough. Like, I can't, like, I started too late. Like, I can't become professional now. Like, so it's not use trying. But then I decided, since I was like going to carry it through with a hobby, I started taking this one comic book class, and the teacher there was actually this really awesome person. I remember I mentioned SVA, like I was thinking at one point to going to SVA, and he looked at my stuff and he's like, yeah, like with the time you have left, you could definitely get in. And then that was like the first time that someone who is actually really good, like comic book artist, like a professional comic book artist, actually told me like, yeah, you could probably do this if you tried. So that was like the first time that, because of course like your mom or your parents would be like, yeah, honey, you're great, but you can't take that seriously. So it's like that kind of thing. So then that was like the first time that I like, wow, maybe I could actually do this. So then I started trying again, and then it just kind of snowballed, and now like I can't imagine doing anything else.
Yeah, you just gotta go for it, see what happens, you know. I mean, you just don't figure this stuff out until, you know, you get into it, so I don't know. That's the real advice, I guess, you know.
Yeah.
Never know what's going to happen. There's a lot of people, you know, like, you know, a lot of people were talking about getting into Marvel and stuff, but there's a lot of people online that are doing it, you know, just on their own, and the one that kind of just popped in my mind a little while ago was that Kate Beaton. You know, I follow her on Patreon, and she's like killing it. You know, she doesn't need Marvel, DC, or anybody else to tell her to do comics. She's just doing it on her own and rocking. You know.
Yeah.
Well, guys, I have
It's
to.
like anything, it's hard work and dedication and not giving
No, you
up.
can't leave, Robert.
You have to stay. Sorry.
I've
We got 7 viewers.
Hungry.
We're doing good.
All right. Well, thanks for coming on the show, Robert. That was awesome. It was nice meeting you, man.
Yeah, same here. No, thank you, and Peter for.
Oh, everybody put their links into the event page of this episode,
Okay.
and
Sure, why not?
I'll post them to the video later. Just
Okay.
so
Great,
everybody
something
knows.
new to learn.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you mean the Google Plus one, not the Facebook one, or does it matter?
Yes, the Google Plus event page for Artcasters Chat 3.
Yeah, I see it. Okay.
Okay.
Well, thanks, guys. It's been a lot of fun.
Yeah,
Yeah,
great
it's fun
having you
having you,
on.
man.
Take care.
Thank you. See y'all later.
Good seeing you.
All right.
Same here. Bye.
Yeah.
So,
Actually, that's something. As long as we're talking about it, and I don't know if anybody's out there watching or they'll watch it later, but that's one thing that confused me about these Google Hangouts is the event page on Google is like the place where you like opt in to get the email to get on the show and all that kind of stuff. It's not like that thing that's on Facebook. You know what I mean? You can say, hey, I'm going on Facebook, but that doesn't. You got to go to the Google thing and then click that button, and then Peter knows to invite you. So I just wanted to put that out for anybody that's going to want to get on the show in the future. So, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was chasing that around when you sent me that message on Facebook.
I figured you didn't know, so that's why I messaged you real quick before we
yeah,
started.
no, that worked. I
Saw you
finally
on
figured it out.
Yeah.
Yeah, make sure you're clicked into the G Plus event page, because then I'll see your G Plus icon, which may book icon. Because
I'll be looking for that.
yeah, I was looking for somebody's name, and 8 people popped up with that name and different icons. I couldn't tell who's who.
Yeah.
So it's just easier if you click in and click yes to watching, and I'll invite all those people.
Yeah. Yeah, you know.
I was just gonna say, I don't know how much longer you want to go, but
Yeah, I know it's getting late.
5 o'clock.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's dinner time. Maybe we gotta wrap it up. I think we've been going like 3 hours now. So.
Well, 2 hours.
2 hours?
2 hours.
Didn't we start at 1? It says 3 on my computer. Oh yeah, 2 hours. That's why I'm an artist.
Everybody gave shit to Barbie when they had that massive card thing, but nobody pointed out that Barbie was right.
But yeah, so we'll do another episode next Sunday. You want to do it at a different time?
I'm good. Whatever's convenient for you, Peter. Well, actually, next Sunday might have to be like the 10 o'clock one, just because.
10 o'clock your time?
Yeah, because we usually go down to my
That
mom's.
will work.
Yeah, for dinner and stuff. So. Or in the morning, we could try that. I
I'm
don't
better
know.
for the morning using personally.
Come on, Peter. I want to get you up at 4 a.m.
I could do.
there's a 4 in the morning too.
I was up at 3:30 this morning, so
I know you
Um,
never sleep, dude.
I
When are
know.
you sleeping?
computer
It's just
sucks.
like
I'm dead.
I'm like up like super late, and like all of a sudden I'll see Peter's thing like pop up. I'm like, are you kidding me? It's got to be like full on daylight in New York by now, or
Sleep
Kentucky.
is
or whatever.
boring.
Yeah.
He,
That's
he
usually
does,
about the time I'm going to bed, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning.
he
Yeah.
does 15-minute power naps between drawing panels.
He's doing the
That's
Kramer thing.
Okay, good to go.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, we could try morning. I want to see if we can get some UK people. I don't know what
Yeah.
time zone, how that works out, but
I know
Yeah,
Dave
Um,
wanted. Yeah, Dave was saying he wanted to get on the show. Dave Gaskin. I think it'd be cool to get him on here.
yeah, absolutely. So I don't know. We'll look into it and see what's good for a couple of those people,
Yeah.
and then I'll post it up like midweek or something.
We get Jamie Gamble on and pretend we have UK people on, even though he's in California.
All right. I was watching his videos for a while, but then I don't know why I started losing track of him. Is he still doing them?
Yeah,
He's still
he's-
doing it. Yeah, he's halfway through.
Hmm. And Kevin's
Um,
almost wrapping up now. He's like
Yep.
almost 100, man.
In like a
Kevin's
day or
on
two.
tomorrow, I believe, is his 100th.
And then he's gonna abandon you guys. Like he got you guys all to swim out in the ocean, and then he got on the boat and took off.
I know. What are we gonna
he's
do?
already he's already a success and doing well.
Now he's working for Marvel, and
There you go. He's sold
Can't hang out with the little people
Just do
anymore.
100 days of comics, and you'll be a superstar.
Yeah, really. Yeah. Somebody ought to do that. 101 days of comics. Up it a little bit.
Yeah.
I know.
That's too far. You're out of control.
That's right.
I've done 42, and 42 is a lot. I mean, this is different than what you're doing, Jeff. It's like trying to work on our project and post every day and.
Absolutely, dude. I know what you're talking
Yeah.
about. You guys all have jobs. I mean, like, I'm just sitting around here all day, but it's just, I don't know how you're doing it, really.
Well, I missed a couple of days. I think everybody has at this point.
See, that's why I'm not
Yeah,
even doing this, because I already do
Almost days
comics
every week.
every day that I can as it is.
Yeah.
It's like, because my day usually starts out with getting up at 5 o'clock in the morning so that I have a couple hours to work on comics before I go to my paying job. Then,
Yeah.
then if I've got nothing else going that night, then I work on comics again, and I have to keep that schedule so I can keep my update schedule up because I'm not as fast as I want to be.
Yeah.
I don't think anybody is.
Well, no, that's true.
I give you credit. Like you post twice a week. You're doing 2 pages a week, and you're 99% on time because you're really dedicated to your own deadline, and that's a big thing. That's like you're not working for somebody else; it's your own project. So it's your own self getting yourself on schedule.
Yeah, that was something I learned really early on, was that if I let the schedule slip, then the schedule is going to slip bad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And having a consistent update schedule is like the most important thing you can have as a webcomic, just so people get in the habit of checking the page and reading through. And I got into that habit when I first started Everyday Abnormal, and that was a good thing because that's carried through. And I think now that I'm in that habit, now I don't break it easily.
Yeah.
Yeah, when I was first doing my podcast, I had a lot more comments and stuff, and a lot more viewers or listeners and stuff. But then when I re-upped it after a year long of hiatus, I'm still working back up to where I was. I'm not quite to where I was.
I agree. That consistency really does, keep an audience, or
Momentum.
build an audience or something.
Momentum is everything.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Believe it or not, I actually, on my old channel that I had when I was a little anime nerd, when I was like 13 to around 15, I used to have this one channel, and I managed to get 300 subscribers on it. I have no idea how I was able to do that, because my art was absolutely dreadful, even worse than it is now, and I mostly, I posted other things besides art. That's how I mainly racked up subscribers. But the thing is, even if I got subscribers through other things of art, when I did post art stuff, I got more views, because of the other stuff I would upload. And then what happened one day is I lost the password, and the email that it was connected to was an old email that I also lost the password to, and that I can't open. I've tried multiple times. But yeah, so that channel's completely dead, and I lost 300 viewers or potential viewers and clients out of it. It really sucks.
Yeah, that's a drag.
That is terrible.
I know. And now I have like 37 subscribers on my YouTube page now. But the good thing is, at least they're dedicated. I have a few dedicated people that watch, so like Marshall and Peter and everybody else. So, that's good.
Well, let me tell you one thing. You're going to build that back up pretty quick, I think. Because I watch a lot of people, on YouTube, and I followed a bunch of different communities. I used to do graffiti stickers, which used to be a big community on YouTube. And I got a lot of subscribers through that, and also I watched my wife. She was doing makeup videos. She got a lot of subscribers, and then, but the stuff you're doing, you can kind of tell the stuff that works on YouTube sometimes, and that video, the bitchin' pigeon.
Bitchin' pigeon, yes, that blew up. I have no idea. I'm sorry to interrupt or interject here, but literally, I originally posted it solely on Facebook as a Facebook video, only because I thought, this is so dumb that nobody's going to like it or watch it, and no one's going to care. So I posted it on Facebook almost begrudgingly, and then it just blew up, and that's my most popular video or upload that I've ever made, and I was just so confuzzled with just how that happened. But yeah, a lot of people found it funny.
Well, what it really is you're putting your personality out there, and you're adding story to that, which both of those are huge things that help. And there's this other girl, and it's weird. It's weird that she doesn't really come up in the community of artists that we all hang out with, but she's an artist, and she's got a lot of viewers and stuff, but. I don't know if she's so focused on the art or not. She's also part of the makeup community, but this girl Cat Sketch, and she's got tons of views. But that's what she does. She draws, and to be honest, no offense, she's not the greatest artist or whatever, but she draws and tells stories from her life while she's drawing, and it really resonates with people. And she's got tons of viewers. So keep doing those stories, and keep your personality is really funny when you get on those little stories. So keep that up.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I agree, Kristen. I think that you are gonna just blow up here, and you're just probably gonna be ignoring us.
Oh no.
Yeah. Seriously, your little YouTube videos, they are funny, and I don't know.
I'm actually, speaking about funny, though, I'm writing a blog entry about one of my hobbies. Well, I can't really call it a hobby because I don't actively participate in it because my brand of humor doesn't really translate. But I love stand-up, and I'm one of those evil little bastards, which you're not supposed to do this, but I like to take apart jokes and find out what makes them work and what makes people laugh when they hear it. It's just a hobby of mine. And it's actually really interesting because this actually comes from one of my comedian friends who, truth be told, isn't really good at all, because the thing is, it's I like to actually kind of practice like picking apart his jokes, because the thing is, there was one that he told, and God, I hope he's not watching this. I really doubt he would be, but sorry, BJ. But
Why did you say his name? You could have plausible deniability right up to that moment.
oh God, because I'm stupid apparently. But like he had this one joke where I was able to tell the punchline before he even got to it. And I won't say it on here because it's kind of offensive, but like, yeah, he had this one joke where literally I was reading it and I could tell the punchline before he even got to it. And his brand of humor it's not necessarily that it's bad, but the thing is that it's like one of the golden rules in comedy, and again, like, it's just a hobby. I'm not like a professional comedian or anything like that. I could never ever do that. But one of the golden rules in comedy is if it's the first joke that pops in your head, even if you think it's clever, you should throw it out because chances are that's the first joke that everybody thinks of. And that's the type of humor that I feel he has. It's like the first joke that everybody thinks of, and that's why I'm not the biggest fan of his. I support him, but I don't know. Well, he only been doing it for a year or two, so he's still raw talent. So I hope he makes it, but right now he needs a little bit of work. And I know that it actually pisses off a lot of my friends because he makes a lot of my other friend is his girlfriend, Jen. I gotta stop. Why am I saying these people's names? God damn it. But I should have learned, and I don't. But
you should just cut all this thing out of post-production.
You can, I don't know if you want to. I mean, maybe I'm just running my mouth, but
You get this directly onto YouTube. There's no cutting anything.
Oh, well.
So.
oh well.
She just threw a whole bunch of people under the bus. It's cool.
I'm sorry. Oops. And the worst part is I'm not doing it intentionally either. I forget that this is being recorded when I'm talking. Oh God.
You're fine. You're fine. Anyway.
Yeah. So there's that.
Everybody who does Artcasters regrets what they say afterwards. So.
Yeah.
Trust me, I've felt that way with my podcast.
Yeah.
But yeah, I guess we'll close this out. So just going around with everybody that's left here. Do you have any final comments? Want to pitch your website or just talk about your project recently or whatever? We'll go with Jeff first.
Okay. My website is jefflafferty.net, and go join the Artcasters Facebook group because everybody loves that. And thanks for all you guys coming on the show. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, it was a big crowd today.
Yeah, it
And
sure was.
lots of people watching as well.
Really?
Keeping track.
That's great.
It was 6, 4. It was like 7 at one point.
Oh, 7?
Yeah.
You said lots. I thought maybe like 1,000 people or something.
Well, that's lots if you're in a
people
Volkswagen.
watching live. That's the most it's been so far.
So we're suddenly internet famous.
Then we have John.
Yeah, anybody who wants to look at my stuff, I've got Everyday Abnormal hosted at Comic Fury. That's everydayabnormal.thecomicseries.com. I'm also on DeviantArt at zombrai.deviantart.com. And I do have a Patreon. That's patreon.com/zombrai. And Everyday Abnormal is on Facebook, and I am on Twitter. So you've got options if for some reason you want to talk to me. I don't know why that would be. You know, people are self-destructive like that, I guess.
Always
That's the gym. Talk you out of doing comics.
You got any advice for doing comics? For God's sakes, don't.
Stay away.
You're still young. You still have a chance.
I like your what you're working on today. It's very cool.
Thank you. You guys got to see me finish my page.
Yes. So yeah, then we have Kristen.
All right. You can find me at my YouTube page, which I'm sure if you just search Kristen Middleton, I'm sure it'll come up. And I'm also in my blog, and that is I Swallowed a Fly at blogspot.com, and you can find me there. And I just started the blog, so I'm gonna make it look all pretty, like eventually. But yeah, so hopefully everything takes off and hopefully everything goes well, and I hope to be seeing you in the not too distant future.
Cool. Then we have Marshall.
Yes, donkeyjawprojects.com is where you can find everything, and I make comics and stuff, and also my podcast is where I usually show people at too, is Escape Artist Podcast, which is also at Donkey Jaw Project. So yeah, that's about it.
An excellent podcast, I will say.
Yeah, definitely. That's a good one.
Yeah. And then we have Sid. Hey.
Hey, I had a lot of fun, guys. You can find me on YouTube at Sid Airbrush, where I'm doing absolutely ridiculously flat videos so far. I'm still figuring myself out there. And my YouTube or my Facebook page, Sid La Jeunesse, LAJ, I should pop up after that, where I post most of my artwork. And oh, and I just wanted to make a note that I own Darren Beedman's Princess Leia piece.
Nice. Cool. And I am Peter Palmiotti, and this hangout was completely funded by Patreon. You can find me there at patreon.com/Peter Palmiotti.
Yay, Peter!
So
thank you for doing it.
Thanks a lot, Peter.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
You're our hero, man.
Thank you for coming.